Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film, Lawless. It is based on the book The Wettest County in the World, which is the county Franklin County, Virginia, where the film takes place. It's about a group of brothers, Forrest, Howard, and Jack. And Jack, played by Shia LaBeouf, starts off in typical, gangster movie fashion. Starts off as kind of just the driver. He's the smaller guy, whereas Tom Hardy and Jason Clarke are kind of the bigger guys, especially Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's like the muscle. Nobody fucks with Tom Hardy. Everybody believes he's invincible, even though this county is full of bootleggers making bootleg alcohol during Prohibition. These guys are the best, the baddest, the guys you don't fuck with. And the cops are all in on it. They just give them bunch of booze, which is called White Lightning, and they're fine with it until Guy Pearce plays a special agent, Charlie Rakes, who's a brutal police officer from Chicago who wears cologne, although they call it perfume, is well dressed and isn't like them at all, but has come to clean up the county and go against them, and using kind of brutal, terrible, corrupt means to do so. And at the same time, Shia LaBeouf's character is becoming more and more of a bootlegger, dressing in fancy clothes, selling alcohol to whoever, making tons of money, selling it to Gary Oldman's gangster character, and doing very well for himself. Lawless is a very messy movie and isn't very focused. And it's a film that really could have used it. Because, you open the film with Shia LaBeouf's character, Jack, and he is narrating the film, and at first I thought this film, because he's narrating it, is from his perspective, or it's his version of the truth that he's heard through oral history or something. And it becomes clear to me as I watch the film that this narration isn't there for a specific reason. It's not to show his viewpoint. The main reason Shia LaBeouf's narration is there is because I don't think this script and this director know any other way to explain the story. I don't think John Hillcott has the confidence to pull this off without having Shia LaBeouf's narration in there. He doesn't have the visuals, I guess, to back it up. As soon as I started to realize that, I saw how the film was kind of flimsy. It didn't really have that much of a theory behind it. Anytime they'd show violence in a montage when they're like driving and showing them making money off of selling this bootleg liquor, it's fun and there's like a humor to it. But then when they show it in the actual film and just have a sequence, it's very horrifying and realistic. And it's kind of like, pick a side, guys, because that just doesn't, what's it gonna be? You're either Rocky or you want to be kind of this natural kind of Boardwalk Empire thing. And it just doesn't really mix very well. It just is kind of confusing. I found the score especially was just all over the fucking place. Sometimes it just isn't there. Other times you have music of the era, it sounds like, which went well. And then other times you have people covering the Velvet Underground song White Light, White Heat in kind of a late 20s, 30s style, which made me think I understand they're selling White Lightning, but that came out of nowhere. And anytime they use kind of a more modern song in this film, I always went, what? It really took me out of it. It felt really inappropriate when maybe there should have been a decent score in there. It really came off as phony and dull and just confusing. There was no real theme to any of the score. I just did not really like the score at all. It's just too all over the place. This film really needed to focus on Shia LaBeouf's character, because this stuff with Tom Hardy, I love Tom Hardy. It's not Tom Hardy's fault. He doesn't talk very much. He's not very vocal. And then we spend time with him, and Jessica Chastain's character, there's several moments with her that just don't really pay off. These should have been minor characters that were brought up for reasons that I don't really understand. Why were they emphasized? The best part of this entire movie is Guy Pearce's character, who's almost like a Disney villain. He's so evil and maniacal and kind of cartoonish. Guy Pearce is really having a lot of fun as this special agent, because he knows he's so out of place and very this fancy hoity-toity guy to them in comparison to, you know, the brothers and everyone else who lives in this Virginia town, but he really sells it, and he's really good at being kind of this over-the-top villain. I mean, in some places over the top, some places he's just pure evil, but it's, you know, I've seen Guy Pearce in like 3 films this year. Every one he's playing a completely different character, but this is probably my favorite performance I've seen from him in a while. It might be one of my favorite performances I've ever seen from Guy Pearce. I really, really liked him as the villain in this film, and what he did to his face, that's some like Lon Chaney shit right there. A lot of stuff is underexplained. Some stuff is explained that doesn't need to be explained. It just is kind of a mess of a screenplay because it just doesn't know exactly what it's doing. John Hillcott, who's the director, didn't really have control, absolute control over this movie. You didn't feel like this real focused director was behind it. There's just too many ideas going on and not enough of a focus. It was biting off way more than it could chew and way more than it needed to. And then the ending, it's like, does it even have a real end? You think it's over, then it's not over, then we gotta go to 1940 for whatever reason. This isn't like one of the worst things ever. There's certain parts I like about it, but I found it a little, to be honest, frustrating as an audience member to watch because it just was too messy. The structure was too messy. The score was messy. Just wasn't like, I wasn't even sure where I was supposed to go as an audience member. If you failed at story structure, I'm supposed to think you're like Coppola, or like this is supposed to be some great gangster movie or something because you can't structure a good Hollywood movie. I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, but if you look at all the best gangster films of all time, or of any good gangster film, they're incredibly well-structured, well-told, well-focused stories. And the fact that this isn't kind of shows where it exactly will be in 20 years when we look at gangster films, because I don't think anyone will really give a shit about this. So if you have seen Lawless and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.